Nobody on Larkin Street ever sat with her. That's the part I keep coming back to, all these years later. Not the lights in the sky, not the men in the gray car. Just the fact that a whole block of grown adults could look at a woman alone on her porch and decide, without a word passed between them, that she wasn't worth the trouble of a hello. Her name, as far as the street knew it, was Vera Thorne. She'd moved into the Hendricks place 2 summers before I noticed her, a narrow blue house at the dead end, where the cul-de-sac curved back on itself. She kept a garden nobody could name the flowers in. She spoke like English was a coat she'd borrowed and hadn't broken in yet, careful at the seams. The women's coffee circle stopped inviting her after the second try. She'd brought something in a covered dish that smelled like burnt copper, and that was the end of that. Kids called her the ghost lady, not unkindly, just the way kids name what they don't understand, and then stop looking at it. I was 61 that year, retired out of the transit yard with a bad knee, and more time than I knew what to do with. I fixed things. That was the whole shape of my life by then. Gutters, fences, the widow Halloran's mailbox post. So when Vera Thorne's porch steps split down the middle, I noticed before she did, the way you notice a rattle in an engine before the driver does. I'd watched her for 3 weeks before that Saturday. The way you watch weather you can't quite name. Not suspicious, just curious in a way I couldn't put down. She kept odd hours. She never had a car, never had mail that wasn't addressed in somebody else's handwriting, like the world hadn't quite decided she existed yet, and was still filling out the paperwork. Once I saw her stand in her yard at dusk, with her face tipped up at the sky for so long that I nearly crossed the street to check on her, and then she just went back inside like nothing had happened, and I told myself it wasn't my business, and it wasn't, not yet. I didn't ask permission. I just showed up one Saturday with a bag of deck screws and knelt down at her step, and she stood in the doorway a long moment before she said, "You don't have to." "I know," I said. "Chair's crooked too. You want it fixed, or you want to keep standing on your porch like a woman waiting for a bus that isn't coming?" That got something out of her. Not quite a laugh. Close enough. I pulled the porch chair over, wedged a shim under the short leg, and sat down in it to test it, right there in front of her, uninvited. She watched me like she was waiting for the catch. I think that was the moment, small as it was, a rusted folding chair on a Tuesday, when something in her face let go of a held breath it had been holding since long before she came to Larkin Street. After that I came by most weeks. Never announced it as anything. I'd bring a thermos, she'd bring out 2 mismatched mugs, and we'd sit while the street walked past us both, like we were part of the scenery. The ghost lady and the old mechanic who apparently had nothing better to do. She never told me where she was from. I never asked straight out. You learn, at my age, that some doors you wait for people to open themselves. But there were things. The way she flinched, once, at the sound of a low aircraft passing over, flinched like it had teeth. The way her garden bloomed in October. Wrong season and wrong color. Deep violet things that closed up tight the second the sun dropped. The way some nights, I'd see a light under her floorboards through the crawlspace vent. A light that didn't flicker like any bulb I'd ever wired. I never asked. I just kept showing up with the thermos. The men came on a Thursday in late October, in a gray sedan too clean for our street, wearing suits too pressed for a neighborhood, where nobody dressed for anything. They said they were with an insurance adjuster's office, asking about a Ms. Thorne, a matter of an old policy. Mrs. Halloran, who noticed everything and understood little of it, told them which house. I was on Vera's porch when they came up the walk. I saw her go still in a way I hadn't seen before. Not scared exactly. Braced. Like a woman who'd been waiting 2 years for a knock she always knew was coming. "Miss Thorne," the taller one said, and there was something wrong in the way he said it. Too careful. Like he was translating the name out of something else. "We need a few minutes." "She's got company," I said, and stood up out of the crooked chair. He looked at me the way men like that look at a man like me, an old fixer in a flannel shirt, nothing to weigh, nothing to fear. "This doesn't concern you." "It's my street too," I said. "Whatever business you've got with my neighbor, you can state it out here, where the neighbors can hear it. I want to be honest, I wasn't brave. I was 61 with a bad knee, and a bag of deck screws in my truck. I had no idea what I was standing between her and but I'd sat in that chair enough Tuesdays to know the shape of a person who'd been hunted before, and I knew what it looked like when someone decided to stop running. Vera stepped up beside me, and something in her, I still don't have the words for it, and I've had years to find them, something in her let go. Whatever coat she'd been wearing to look like the rest of us, she set it down. Just for a moment, just at the collarbone, a thin line of light traced itself under her skin, like a river seen from very high up, gone again, before Mrs. Halloran's curtains could catch it. The taller man's face went the color of old paper. "Court's fallen, Vesa," he said, quiet now, no more insurance office voice in it at all. "The Reach doesn't forget its debts." "Then the Reach can find someone else to collect them," she said. Her voice had changed too, steadier, older, carrying something I only understood later as command. "I am done being found." They left. I don't know what made them leave, whether it was her or the fact that a street full of curtains had gone still and watchful, half a dozen faces I'd have sworn didn't know her name, suddenly very interested in what was happening on her porch. Maybe that was its own kind of shield, a neighborhood, for once, actually looking. She didn't explain herself to me that night, and I didn't ask her to. We sat back down in the crooked chair and the folding one, and I poured what was left in the thermos, and my hands were shaking worse than hers. "You could have let them take me," she said finally. "You didn't know what I was." "Didn't need to know what you were," I said. "Only needed to know you were somebody worth a chair on a porch." She looked at me a long time after that, the kind of look I'd never once earned from anybody in 61 ordinary years. Like I was being weighed and found, against every odd, sufficient. The street changed after that, some. Not all at once, not into anything you'd call a parade. But Mrs. Halloran started leaving her a plate at Thanksgiving, and the Kowalski boys stopped calling her the ghost lady and started calling her Ms. Vera instead, which she seemed to like better than either name she actually owned. The coffee circle never did figure out what to make of her, and I think Vera preferred it that way. She'd had enough of rooms deciding what she was worth before she'd said a word. She never went back to whatever she'd been, queen, exile, fugitive. I only ever got pieces, and I never pushed for the rest. Some nights she'd say a little more than others. Once she told me the name of the world she'd governed, and it sounded like rain on a tin roof, and I never quite got my mouth around it right, and she laughed at that, properly laughed, the first time I ever heard it out of her. She stayed Vera Thorne to everyone but me. To me she was both, and I found I didn't need to choose which, and neither, in the end, did she. I still fix things on that street. I'm 74 now, slower, worse knee. The chair's been replaced twice. Cheap folding things don't last, but I keep the first one in my garage anyway, crooked leg and all, because some furniture earns its keep by holding somebody up exactly once, at exactly the right moment, and that's enough to make it worth saving. People ask me sometimes why I did it, walked up beside a stranger against two men in a car I had no business standing up to. I tell them the truth. I didn't do it because I knew what she was. I did it because nobody else on that whole street had ever bothered to sit down.